Hi everyone. We are going to just take you through the financial health checkup document that we have shared with you all, just in case you have any doubts about what each section refers to and why we've actually put them here. But in theory, the idea is just to kind of take a look at all the different sections and alert you to the fact that they exist and for you to kind of look and assess where you are with each category. So to start off with, it's
just a second. I'll explain how the checkup works in principle. It is how we designed it to work. You will have a printed version in front of you. You mark the categories by yes or no for yourself, and there is also a space to put notes. So it is kind of a checklist, but it will swiftly transfer to your to-do list. So if somewhere you put no, you might want to write to yourself, I should do it this weekend, or make notes, and it will be your to-do list for the next couple of weeks.
Exactly. And of course, if after this you've got any specific questions about any of the categories or where you are within this list, we will be here to help you. So the first category is the very exciting will and inheritance part. So it's obviously not something that everyone wants to think about all the time, but it is probably one of the greatest gifts you can give to your friends and family when the time does come, that you have actually already thought about how you want to divide up your estate and to give any assets that you might have, whether it's to your partner or unmarried or married, and also to your children or anyone else. So we've just put here, do you have a will? Is there anything that you might need to update in it? Obviously, if you've had more children or you want to take someone out or add anyone. And of course, actually, it's really a good idea to find out where your parents are with their own will. And also, of course, about any inheritance taxes that might affect you and your children.
Yeah, I specifically would like to highlight that the tax knowledge of taxes is very important in understanding, because sometimes we overestimate the size of inheritance when we don't understand the financial consequences of the taxes and also the timing of the taxes. Now, depending on the country, we might need to pay taxes upfront before we actually can access our new wealth, and that's an important thing to keep in mind.
Exactly.
Well, so the next category is debts. And there are different kind of debts. There are good debts and there are bad debts. No? So we are not judging here. This is the part of your checklist, just to put everything in order and to make sure you have a clear view of what are your debts at this moment. From our side, we definitely advise to try to pay off any credit card debt as soon as possible, because it always carries very high fees and interest. Also, it's important to understand what exactly you are paying on interest and fees. This is what this part of the checklist is about.
Absolutely. And also, which actually, one of the questions we've got there, am I dependent on my partner to cover my monthly mortgage payments, which is obviously something to think about, and which kind of leads us also into the third section, which is insurance, and whether you yourself have life insurance, or if indeed your partner has life insurance, if for whatever reason they're not able to continue working or continue working or earn money or anything like that. So that's definitely something to look into and see whether it's something that you and your partner want to take out.
Okay, and then afterwards we are moving to the pension plans. And this is a very big and very important category. And some questions we put here are actually are very broad. No? So the question 4.1, for example, am I clear on how I see my life upon retirement? This might take you a while to figure out, and some of us really postpone this, even thinking about it. Also, I personally, I don't really like the word retirement, but we still use it here. But if you replace the word retirement with I don't know, how I see myself at the age of, and you put a certain age, that might be better, no? Majority of us come from abroad, so it's we are dealing with very different situations. We are dealing with different pension plans in different countries, what each country is offering us, but it's very important to kind of put it all in order, or at least try to have a certain idea. And this is what this part of the checklist is about.
Yeah, and in particular, just, you know, assessing that if you've got any, you know, private pension plans through your company, if they're able to contribute to it as well, make sure that you're not missing out on any sort of extra money that you could be benefiting from. And of course, you know, it's also good to know that, you know, the current state pension plans, you know, might not be very unlikely to be sufficient for, you know, how we may see our lives at that time in the future. So then moving on to the sort of more day-to-day, week-to-week, monthly look at our finances. So savings and budgeting. It's obviously really important to look at whether you have any savings, and if those savings are enough for you to well, have you got specific goals for those savings? And also whether you've actually made a sort of provision for an emergency fund. So this would be typically a little pot of cash that you can access very easily should you lose your job, or should there be, you know, for whatever reason that you can't actually earn any money, and this fund is what you would survive on for, you know, some people like to put together sort of 3 months of emergency fund expenses, or some people might not feel happy until they've got, you know, 6 months squirreled away somewhere. And of course, later it's good to like check to see whether there's any, aside from emergency fund, your savings, if you're getting any income from that. And also whether the tools that you're using for your budget, or if you're if you're budgeting, whether you've got any specific tools are actually useful to you and are helping you to get the most out of your savings. And this is kind of I guess a real time to have a little like self-reflection about how your sort of day-to-day finances work, and if the reality is that you are keeping to a budget and you are able to save on a regular basis or not.
And well, I just want to highlight that I think there is no one solution, and there are really different ways how you can have your budgeting system, or even don't have it, but if you are satisfied with the amount of your savings, that's also fine, no? So that's why we also put the question. So you might already have your own system, which is not exactly a budget, but another way. But it's just important to have it all in one place. And if there are some things you think you want to improve, to find something where you can start working on. And the next category is tax. And once again, we highlight the importance of understanding taxes. This is one of the financial categories which lots of people I find trusting professionals and kind of rejecting even the idea that they should go deep into it. And it sounds quite overwhelming, intimidating, and not something you really want to even try understanding. It is not complicated. It is logical. And there is really lots of information available about taxes, always on internet, on the government sites. There is plenty of government employees in every country which are very open and clear on explaining this. So it's more about your self-discipline and kind of a will to go a little bit deeper and to understand. But it's really worth taking control of, first of all, the knowledge. You might not want to fill in all the tax forms yourself, but to understand what is happening there, how it works, it's really worthwhile.
Yeah, exactly. And it's worth just doing that bit of due diligence just so that you don't have any, you know, nasty surprises at the end of the tax year, or just so that you feel a bit more in control about, you know, what's happening. Because, you know, there are times when you get that lovely little gift of some tax coming back, but there's also the other times where it hasn't worked out that way. So it's, you know, it's obviously just better to really just spend a little bit of time just to understand it clearly. And then moving on to banking. I mean, this is just a, you know, for you just to check that you've got the best option for you. Obviously, there's lots of different banks, and there's lots of sort of new online banks as well, and there's lots of, you know, different banks have different fees and everything. But it's you know, a good opportunity just to review them and make sure that, you know, what you have now is still the right thing to continue with.
And just one piece of advice, any banking conditions are usually very renegotiable. And it's banks and credit card companies, organizations which are very open to rediscussing the terms, negotiating the terms. It's just more about the courage and about the time you take and effort to go back to them and simply asking, can I get a better conditions? No, or just being very open, saying, I don't want to pay these fees. I think the fact that I bring my money to you is enough for you to provide me certain services. No? And that is also, I think, approach we have to see, that banks want our money. We don't want banks so much. I mean, there is plenty of banks, there are plenty of financial services available, but they want us as clients and they want our money. So we have the power to negotiate, and we have the power to insist on free treatment. So we don't have to pay money to give them our money.
Exactly. Yeah, the money that we give them is already being used by them. So yeah, keep an eye out for any of those little additional fees that they like to slip in from time to time and negotiate.
And then investing, we don't put too many questions here because it's a big category, and we will be working on our investing separately. We just put here a few questions. One is, do you actually have investing goals? Because investing is something we tend to postpone or forget, or think that it's that's something very complicated, but it's important to have a thought about it and also have certain goals. And it starts actually with understanding what you already receive as a return on your investment. And by return on your investment, we talk about maybe if you have a property which you rent out, you have to calculate what is return on investment. So how the money you receive as an income from that property relates to the current value of the property. And then if you have your banks on a deposit, then that's also counts as a return on investment, no? Because your money is somehow bringing you a certain income. So all this is important to have written down in one place, calculated, and you really have to have a clear view on that.
Exactly. And then just to sort of round it all off, we sort of touched on it briefly, actually talking about the banking arrangements, but it is a really good idea just to reassess every single bill that you are currently paying for. And I'm sure there are many of us who did it all through the lockdown. Was quite a good time for us to kind of see whether we could make any reductions in some of our expenses. But definitely review, for example, your contracts for all your utility bills. I, for one, have just seen that, I thought I was paying something per month, and it turns out that I'm actually paying quite a bit more. So I've now sort of, been researching other companies, and I'm making a switch now. So these things can kind of creep up, and the deal that you thought you had last year is not exactly the same one that you have this year. So spend some time just reviewing that and making any necessary switches. And also, of course, the banking we mentioned, credit card charges, and also any other things that you might have subscriptions to. It's a good time to evaluate, is that something, for example, do I want to be spending $10.99 on my Spotify music account when I never really listen to it? And actually, in a way, I'm spending $10.99 every month. That could be an investment actually into the company, and I could be investing it and actually getting some rewards from it later. So yeah, just have a review of those direct debits and everything, and make sure those are things that you still see as valuable today.
Exactly. And so the paper version also has a space for your new to-do list. So you can put there your next action points. We put a few action points we advise to look at, but we are sure that there are some other action points you could also work on. So we really hope that you will join our challenge, fill in this checklist, and this will be your first step in your, well, not the first one, but another step in your financial journey towards financial independence. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Thank you so much. And any questions or anything, feel free to message us.